For this edition of OKC Central, I'm Dave Morris. Century Martial Arts Chief Executive Officer Michael Dillard, no stranger to taking risks. You see, he's a veteran martial arts fighter, a black belt, and a race car driver. And more recently, he took on the challenge of climbing Carstensz Pyramid, considered one of the world's 7 peaks. It's a designation given to the highest mountain peak on each continent. Dillard is no stranger to mountain climbing. He hiked up Kilimanjaro with his wife Libby in 2010. But in an interview with business writer Steve Lackmeyer, Dillard shared a story about his latest trek 2 weeks ago turned into a trip gone awry. It's a story about misplaced trust and an inexperienced mountain guide, and how the Dillards escaped captivity from mercenaries at a gold mine who authorities believed were about to demand ransom for his release.
Give us a little bit of background as to you and your wife. You've been aspiring to climb the 7 summits. Give us that background.
Well, one of the goals that many climbers have is to climb the 7 summits. The 7 summits is it's a funny thing because there's more than one list of 7 summits. Some people climb a peak in Australia that you can drive a car up to. It's only 7,000 feet, and say, I've done the summit on that continent. It's truly not the highest mountain on that continental mass. The continental mass is called Oceania. The highest is Carstensz Pyramid Mountain in Indonesia. It's also the most remote and hardest, vastly harder to get to than any of the other 7 summits. Some people climb Everest, some climb K2, and there's more than one list, but they call it the 7 summits. Anyway, that's her goal in life. My goals, I'm not as hung up on 7 of them, but I want to accompany her when I can. This was a trip that a guide told us about, John Pavillard. He had done it once. It turns out he didn't do it the route that we took, and that's fine. He said it's more of an adventure because it's so much time through the jungle, across the savannas, crossing rivers, etc. And it was all of that. It surely was.
Yay!
I am so ready.
Yes.
So ready.
This 4 and 3, 7 hours
7
negotiation
Seven hours in the custom shack.
was painful.
20-minute white knuckle motorcycle ride. And I'm ready to start hiking.
It was one of those deals where I thought maybe if a woman's going to go try to tackle this jungle, it would be appropriate for her husband to go along. And next thing I knew, I was signed up, and I'm off spending most of my winter at high altitude in Colorado training for it.
What did you not know about this particular mountain? What didn't you know about the area going in?
Well, I didn't know that the world's largest gold mine's there, and I didn't know about the civil unrest in the area. I didn't know, it's called a red zone in Indonesia. It's officially designated red zone, and that means to them that they're having a lot of civil strife. In that part, it's a separatist movement. This mine, which is 500 and some thousand acres and change, and has 250 kilometers of tunnels underneath it, it's so valuable. There's 7 tribes that claim the land under the mine, or the mine is on. Those 7 tribes, although they employ people from these 7 tribes, they don't make very much money. They had a strike with a couple of years ago, started with 8,000 workers. Of the 20-something thousand that actually worked there, it became violent. The mine hired paramilitary forces to come in. They pay them directly. That's in their SEC filings. They pay them $14 million a year to provide security of the mine. It's a little bit like the Blackwater scandal in Iraq, Afghanistan. These guys don't really answer to anybody very directly. It's the Wild West. And anyway, despite all that, you've got all this mine machinery going on back and forth. A lot of traffic. There's blasting going on day and night. The mine does operate 24/7.
So tell us about the trek that caused you to stop and try to cross the line? Tell us about the bridges, about the terrain, about the sickness.
The bridges were, I mean, surely the bridges were better than I thought. I thought we were going to be wading through more rivers. We did have to wade through some, but the local tribes had built a few bridges. Some of them are just a log that you walk across. Some of them are a few sticks bundled together. But we made it through those, and we followed one river for the first few days, although the trail crossed it several times. That's all fun, and once you get past the fact that you're going to be hiking 8 to 11 hours a day, and you're not just going up or across, you're going up and down, and up and down, up and down. It's extremely fatiguing, but I trained for that. That wasn't a problem. The campgrounds were not very sanitary. The water wasn't really drinkable. We probably should have started using the pills, iodine pills, sooner. Everybody got sick. The rain, I knew it was going to rain a lot. I didn't know it was going to rain 2 or 3 inches a day and all night long. But that was what I signed up for. I didn't have a problem with that. But by the time we got to what's called New Zealand Pass, which is 754 feet, pretty high pass, higher than any mountain in Colorado, we started to have trouble. Libby had a big problem because some of the porters that we'd hired had their families tag along. They had some kids, ages, I don't know, 7 to 11, 7 to 12. I couldn't tell you their ages. They're tagging along because their dads are doing this. They don't go to school. They're all barefoot. Some of the wives are coming along. And we had argued with Jean Pavillard that this was inappropriate because of the dangers of crossing the rivers and the hardships and stuff like that. And he just basically said it's not my decision. The porters demand it. And that we went with that for a few days. That was okay. But when we got to New Zealand Pass, she drew the line.
How are you?
Oopsie.
Are you okay? Are you gonna make it?
I'm a million miles from anywhere.
You're gonna make it?
You better die trying.
Okay. What did you promise, Mikey?
I wouldn't die trying.
The stated goal of the mine is to put us back on the trail. The job of the mercenaries is to do it. What I later find out happens is the mercenaries take you to the edge of the trail. They try to extort whatever monies they can because you're now outside the mine's control. The mine is not in the business of ransoming people, don't get me wrong. The mercenaries are in the business of making money. They do that, and then they hopefully release you under better circumstances after you've paid money to whatever. This became apparent after Patty had talked to, my sister had talked to the American Embassy, to SOS International, and to 2 mine experts in the United States and 1 in Australia who were all familiar with the situation. I had found a guard who wanted to listen to music on my phone. First my iPod, then my phone. He let me charge my phone on his computer terminal. It had been dead for a week. When it became charged, Libby was able to get one of the guards to sneak us up to a point at the top of their tram where you actually could get cell phone reception. And I took us up there, said, you've only got a few minutes. I tried to call the guides because I had like 6 phone numbers to say, well, what the heck's going on? Where's our ride? Where's the guy supposed to contact us? We've been here for days. No, I couldn't get an answer on any of those Indonesian numbers, but a text came through from my sister. How are you? Well, being a little bit suspicious, I had told her, if you haven't heard from me in 72 hours, call the embassy. Because this whole deal was a little hokey, but based on the fact that Libby needed medical help, I said, okay, we don't have many choices here. I texted back, SOS, call SOS. SOS is a service because we hike so much, we subscribe to. Call the embassy, call Mark Stonecipher, call a few friends, whoever. And then it was time we had to go back. Okay. At that point, I'm hoping the message got through. It evidently did. Now it's nighttime over there. It's nighttime here. It's daytime over there. The reverse. The next day, I didn't get to go back and try to use the phone again, but somehow, through whatever happens in cyberspace, a text pops up on my phone, even though I don't have a signal that I can make a call. And it's from her, and she's warning me of what these people have all said. And it's the consistent story that you'll be held for a few days, and after a few days, you'll be, they'll get in contact with your family, and there will be some request for money, ransom, if you will. Libby, at that point, she had just not regained any strength. The food, we had all the rice we could eat. And there's no shortage of rice, it's just not very appetizing after a while. We're still sleeping in the same clothes that we had been in for almost 2 weeks. The sanitary conditions, there weren't much, but, think of where you are. We had a roof overhead and it wasn't raining on us. It was a step above the tent, believe me. And the guys treated us well enough. And they were well enough that they got Libby an appointment with a doctor. Anyway, the medical services of the mine are subcontracted by this international medical company. And it coincidentally is called SOS, also not related to the service that we subscribe to. We went, they took us at 6 a.m., and I think they took us because nobody would see us at 6 a.m., to meet a doctor at yet another clinic. I find out later there's 2 hospitals associated with the mine and 6 clinics. But the mine is a multi-level, multi-mile thing with a city down below at mile marker 64, I believe, and the mine at the upper mine is at mile marker 70 something. And anyway, the doctor there is a South African, nice guy. He said, look, I don't work for the mercenaries, I don't work for the mine, I'm here on a humanitarian mission. He says, you're sick, and she had, we'd schemed a little bit to at least plead that she might be pregnant. You're hoping the pregnant lady sometimes gets a little special attention, and she's also a nurse. He identified with that. He called his supervisor and he left a message that said, I've got a female here, dehydration, exhaustion, first trimester of pregnancy, and I need to get her down to a lower altitude. So he says, great, leaves that message with his superior, has an ambulance arranged. The ambulance literally sneaks us over to the tram, parks right by the tram door. We get in, go down this tram. It's over a mile long. It's the second longest tram in the world. And another ambulance picks us up at the other end. He takes us to the hospital, which is down below, puts her in an emergency room, closes the curtain, says, wait here. He runs some tests just to cover his bases, and we're there for a few hours while he arranges transportation the 64 miles down to the city of Timika. And that road itself is one of the more dangerous in the world because of this ongoing battle with the tribes and ongoing battle with the striking forces. We head down that. There's a convoy of people moving trucks. It's not really buses. It's like a bus, but it's pulled by an all-wheel drive truck. There may be a dozen of them, maybe 1,000 people in the convoy. It's a daily event. He sneaks us on the last bus, about the last people to get on. The bus is all staged at the edge of Tamakapura, which is Copper City, the mining town. There they pull in gun trucks amongst and behind the buses, and in a convoy they move down every day. They've had people killed on this road as recently as February, and remember we were there in March. The mercenaries didn't know we were on the bus. We were out of the mine's reach and the mercenaries' reach before they probably knew we were gone. We got to Timika. I had a few dollars worth of the local currency in my pocket, got a cab, got to a hotel. With the credit card number, I was able to get a room, and eventually to an airport, and a flight to Bali.
Emotionally, how are you and your wife doing in the aftermath of all this?
I think it was a bonding experience, really. I think she is being tested today, unfortunately, for malaria. I don't think she has malaria, but she's got some symptoms. She's probably more emotional, but she was sicker than I was. She's still recovering, but it was a bonding experience. It was a good deal. you know, you'd be surprised what we didn't know about each other until we spent 24 hours a day in a cell together. I was surprised. I said, you didn't know this, and no, I didn't, and that, and taking care of each other, that was a good thing.
All right. All right. Will you go back there?
I will go back there. She will go back there. But the problem is, when we started out, we had hoped that we would be able to hike in and get a helicopter out. The helicopter just didn't happen. It's a real iffy thing on that mountain. And it's partially because the mountain's so shrouded in clouds all the time, partially because it's so remote, and partially because of the mine. You know, they have so many restrictions. It's just a big deal there. When there's a regular helicopter service in and out, I will go. I was 2 hours from the summit. I could have done that in 2 hours easy, and 2 hours back down after 8 days. You know, but I'm left with, you know, do you take your wife to the hospital, or do you ask her to wait 2 hours? Well, I'd already asked her to wait 1 day, so that isn't going to happen. But to anybody that wants to climb the 7 peaks, and the legitimate 7 peaks, including Carstensz Pyramid, the trek is part of the deal. The mountain's not hard to climb. It is technical. It's more technical than Everest. It's known to be more technical. But still, it's only a couple of hours of ropes and hand over feet climbing. You know, maybe if the weather's bad, a little bit longer. The trek is what climbers talk about when we're all sitting around having a beer or coffee. Is the trek. Well, I've done the trek part. The summit part I need to go back to, and she will too. You know, I would warn anybody that the mine is really an unsafe place, and they're right to say climbers don't come here for refuge. There's too much machinery, too much blasting. It's inhospitable, and you know, we're passing signs that say no trespassing, but I went with the idea that this was all prearranged by the guide, and I was in a position where I needed to believe it.
You can read more coverage from Steve Lackmeyer every day in the Oklahoman at newsok.com/Steve Lackmeyer and on his blog at okccentral.com.